I'm Scott Alan Miller. It's the 18th of May, 2022. It's Wednesday, and welcome to my daily vlog of life in Nicaragua. It's beautiful here in León. This is my favorite time of the year because the rainy season is upon us, or winter as they call it here. Yes, we're in the northern hemisphere, but unlike what they teach in American schools, summer and winter are not defined worldwide by the solstice and all of that. It is, in some places, done in only 2 seasons. There are only 2 seasons here. Summer and winter, and May is the beginning of winter, not the beginning of summer as you would expect. So that's very confusing for people that seasons are 6 months, not 3 months. There's only 2, and they are flipped from what we are taught that they are in North America. So everything that we know growing up in the United States about seasons does not apply in this part of the world, and probably doesn't apply in a lot of the world where it's not the US defining things on their own. I hear a lot of noise that way, so I'm going to continue forward simply because I'm trying to get away from all the noise in the street. Oh, actually, I think it went away. It was music, but now it's just a bunch of dogs. That we can handle. We will handle some dogs. But I love this time of the year. I'm going to spin around a little bit. Actually, I don't even have to be in the... Take a look at this sky. It is amazing. Just all these clouds. And once you get rid of the bright sunlight in Nicaragua, it becomes very pleasant. Of course, it's always warm here. It's not terribly warm now, but it is always warm and it's always humid. Like, those things don't change. But in the winter, we get these clouds and then everything gets dark and everything gets, it rains all day, most days. And so the ground is darker, and it completely changes the way things look. And with the cloud cover, you don't have the sun beating down on you. And that's really the hardest thing most days. If you go out at night, that's fine. You can walk around. It's not a big deal. Very rarely is it so hot that you're super uncomfortable. But during the day, you walk outside and you're like, whoa, the sun just hits you and it's hard. But when it's like this is just fantastic. I love it. I could be outside all day. So my big thing today is that my new office is finally done. Yesterday I was moving into it. This morning, because we knew I had just tons of calls I needed to do, Paul ran out and finally got the cables ended, so I'm able to actually hook up my phone and everything and get set up in the office. So that is set up, and I was able to fully move in, get fully working. And oh my gosh, it is a life changer. I now have a completely private space from which I can work. I have 2 complete computers set up. I've got 4 screens. I have space to store some things. I've got my own air conditioning, my own bathroom, my own shower. Everything is my space. It is just where I work. Nobody can come in and throw things on my desk, take things off of my desk, leave things there. By the way, fast food on the street everywhere, like just a very normal thing. Sometimes I wish I ate meat. I don't actually wish I ate meat. I wish they sold things that weren't meat. But it would be so cool to be able to stop and eat at all these amazing looking places all over the streets everywhere. And I can't because I don't eat meat, and that's what they sell almost universally, except for like the elote places or whatever. But so yeah, today, man, having my own office is fantastic. My ability to get out videos, so much better. It takes me no time because I'm not being interrupted. I'm able to put on headphones, go straight through the video, see what there is. And now I see why people who are talking about their video editing, they're like, oh, 2 minutes for every minute of video or something. I'm like, what? It takes me like an hour for every minute of video. That's not true, but it's really long. And now that I have a dedicated space, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm interrupted and have to restart. I have to look at every video edit 20 times. Hola. Hey guys. Well, we're popular today. All right, I have no idea what they're saying. $1. Hashtag $1. That's gonna be my new thing because that's what everybody calls me here. $1. Now they got my shirt. I'm stuck. So I had to walk and find a quieter part of town because I'll show in the bloopers, but I pretty much got attacked by a gang of Nicaraguan street thugs and you'll see. Anyway, so much of this part of the world, you will hear people make reference to something called Nica Time, or when I used to live in Panama, people made reference to Panama Time. And it's something that's said all around this part of the world about wherever you are. And it is essentially, if you've never heard it, it's a complaint about things happening slowly and it being a cultural thing that basically you can never get anything done. And everyone says it. They say it here. When you're here, they say it about themselves. Americans who are here say it about the locals. When you're in America, people refer to it, and it is something you hear just all the time. And I want to address it a little bit because it's important to know that people do say it, and that the way that things are done here do happen at a different pace than they happen everywhere else. But it's not what people think, and it continues. I am several blocks away from where this happened last time. Okay. I don't know what it is about Friday night. It's a popular time to get on the show. And so time does get used differently. And this is really important to understand. In the United States, we think of everything we do, whether it's calling a plumber or you're having a party with your friends, it doesn't matter. We tend to be very strict about time, but we also tend to schedule things. So if you're gonna get a plumber, let's say your toilet's backed up and you need a plumber. Chances are you're going to call them and they're going to be busy, and they're going to say, well, I can schedule you in on Tuesday at, how's 10 o'clock, or maybe between 10 and 4. I'll show up when I can. You say, okay, and you wait at home for them, and chances are they're going to get there more or less when they said. Now, if they're the cable company, they're not coming when they said, and we all know that that's just a bunch of BS that they make up to make you sit around and finally pay for cable you're not getting anyway. But most things in the United States, they're going to give you a rough time, and if you're throwing a party, people are going to arrive at roughly the time that you scheduled the party. Of course, there's fashionably late, but it's still pretty close. It's not some wild guess as to when things are going to happen. But it's also important to understand that in the United States, in order to do these things, in order to be able to schedule when things are going to happen, that means that everybody has to build in a lot of buffer time to everything that they do. So when the plumber says, I can be there tomorrow, the reality is he could have been there today, but he didn't. Had he tried to come today, it would have been unreliable. Maybe he would have come this afternoon, maybe it would have been tonight, and maybe he wouldn't have made it. Best effort is not the way it's done. It is a scheduling thing. Because of this, in the United States, we have a certain expectation that we can predict when things are going to happen. We also have a certain feeling that when things happen when it's predicted, that it's on time, that it's quick, that it's efficient. Now, let's look at the alternative. Here in Nicaragua, people don't tend to schedule things. If you call for a plumber, they say, I'll get there as soon as I can. In many cases, that's 15 minutes. That's way better than Tuesday, right? And Tuesday may be tomorrow, it may be next week. 15 minutes is 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. That's fast, even if it's the middle of the night. The need to only get things when things are open, people tend to work long after places would normally have closed, partially because they need the work, sure. But the whole idea that hit 5 o'clock and you've got to wait till the next day, that doesn't so much exist. Of course, shops will close if you're not already in them. But for people working, things keep happening as long as they're needed for the most part. This is completely different than the way we think of time in the United States. When people say they're coming to a party, yes, they may come at any random time. That is true. But when someone says, you know, I called a taxi, when are they going to get here? They're not going to tell you what minute they're going to get there. They're simply going to leave and be there as soon as they can. They're not going to build in 15 minutes of extra time so that they can tell you they'll be there at exactly 8:30. They're going to leave and get there as soon as possible, which will always be faster than the American alternative, because that ability, that effort to schedule comes at the cost of speed. It has to. It's just physics. Sometimes they can be roughly equal, but as fast as possible is always faster than scheduled. Just the time of the scheduling has to come out of that. So that's an important thing to understand. As Americans, when you come to Nicaragua, yes, it feels often like, well, I don't know when they're coming, and it feels really slow. But consistently, we find that almost everything happens faster. Even things that feel like they're happening much slower, really pay attention. Order a plumber, they could come in 10% of the time it takes in the United States. Go through a line at a store. Yes, the line may take a long time. We did this recently, right? We have Walmart here, and we complained about how long the lines are. How can it be so slow? Go to America, guess what? It took longer. Twice as long, I would say. But we don't feel like it because we're used to the things in America, and we're used to the way that time is managed, right? And so because of that, it feels faster in America, but the actual amount of time that's going on is often shorter. This is really important. So when you're thinking about things with Nica Time, there are things, especially government bureaucracy, that are going to be slower. Often, though, it's not bureaucracy. Often it's because there aren't computers. A lot of things are still done on paper, and humans need to pick up a phone, send a letter, have a courier, get something signed, get it back, and that takes time. Yes, it's slower than in America, but it's not people moving slower, it is processes moving slower. If those same processes happened in America, my gosh, they would never get done. If you had to pick up a phone, send a letter, sign something, nobody would ever do it. It's only because you can do an email and half the stuff is automated for you that anything gets done at all. Now, yes, we appreciate that efficiency in America for sure, that we add all that automation and that technology is amazing. But it does not mean that Americans are more driven to do more work. That is simply not the case. Here, when you're talking about actual people, consistently we have found that people get off their butts and get things done faster. It's different than having hustle. That's something we'll talk about in another episode, because I've talked to some people who are business investors from Europe, and they're like, man, people do a lot of work here, but they have no hustle. And it's a really interesting point that we'll talk about, because that affects a lot of things, but it's very different. When you hire someone to do something, they're going to almost certainly be on it at so much faster, so much more efficient than the same thing would happen in the United States. But because it's not scheduled, you're going to feel differently about it. You spend all your time wondering, when are they going to get here? Well, I don't know, but it's going to be as soon as they can. But if you were in America, you wouldn't. You'd say, well, he knew he couldn't get here all week, so he scheduled it 2 weeks out. And yes, we may wait an extra 4 days, but at least we know that we're waiting an extra 4 days, so we don't think about it for 2 weeks instead of spending 1 week thinking about it constantly. And yes, there's advantages to that, obviously, and it allows us to be more efficient in some ways. But it's not that people are being more industrious. They're building in buffer time to everything they do so that it can deliver on time, to make it feel like they've done things as fast as possible. And they're doing exactly the opposite. They're doing things so slowly so that you get the impression that it's an easy way to fool your bosses, right? How long is this report gonna take, Wilson? Well, sir, it's a lot of work. I think I can get it to you in 2 weeks. The reality is he could have done it in 3 days. Did he? No. He took 8 days to do it. 2 days he just left sitting around and then delivered it 1 day early, so you would think he was being industrious. In reality, he just used your emotional feelings about scheduling time to get a whole bunch of time that he's not required to do anything, because it's not about best effort, it's about meeting an SLA, right? Same thing we deal with in business. SLAs are a way of tricking the people who buy them in almost all cases. SLAs eliminate the need to do the best job possible. That's why the alternative to an SLA is generally considered best effort. Here, America basically has an SLA culture, both in business and in life. Here in Nicaragua, everything's best effort in general, in business and in life. And it really shows when you realize to stop looking for scheduling and start looking for efficiency. The other thing that I'm going to point out that's crazy, we just needed a refrigerator in Texas while we were there, and it took an entire day. They went out in the morning to get it. The next afternoon it was delivered, and we didn't know when it was going to come. They had a lot of time that they didn't know when it was going to be arriving. Here we had to do something very similar just the other day, and it was not as fast as it is sometimes because they had to do a lot of deliveries, but when we needed a new appliance, it was a bed actually, they had it delivered within a couple hours, right? But because they sometimes deliver so fast, we had to run back to the house, like get back fast because they might beat us there, right? I have been at the same store when we ordered things and their delivery truck left at the same time we left from the cashier, right? They went as fast as they could. And there's lots of people shopping. It's not like we were the only ones. In fact, there's probably more people buying things than there is in the States, simply because there's so much more to buy and people need things and there's fewer stores. Whatever makes it happen, it's really happening. That difference between, oh, we'll schedule it and we'll get your delivery to you sometime this week, and well, the truck's leaving now as soon as it's full, so it's probably going to leave in the next 30 minutes, but you may not be the first stop on it, but get home because you're going to one of the stops in the next couple hours. That's fantastic. When you need something, you get it. You don't have to plan days ahead to get something ordered and delivered because it's going to come as soon as they're able to put it on a truck. So rethink when people say things like Nica Time, or if you decide to start coming here, you will definitely hear people use the term. And even if you don't, you're going to notice that things happen on a different schedule. We don't have fast food restaurants really, right? food is cooked made to order. That makes it feel slower, but the actual speed of making the food is generally pretty fast, right? We don't have microwaves in most places. People are cooking over a gas fire. It's gonna make things not as fast, a little bit tastier. But in general, pay attention and ask yourself, is it actually slower, or is it just unpredictable, but actually faster? And if you can get past that impatience, that need to just know when things are gonna happen, maybe you can just enjoy the fact that you're getting everything earlier for less effort. And let's face it, a little bit cheaper. It's pretty nice here. Come join us in Nicaragua. Remember to like and subscribe, ask your questions, make your comments below. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of comments of people who are like, I've had Nica Time and it's slow. Maybe it is for you. I've been here a while. I have yet to witness anything that was actually slow. The speed of everything has been just always so fast. Everything. We had plumbing go out at 11 o'clock at night. We had a crew in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It's crazy. Like and subscribe. I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll be back in a minute. All right, I escaped. So the office is just, it's amazing. It's making my life so much easier. Hola. And so today I have nothing much, right? It was just a day of a lot of work. And I feel like I'm being chased down the street. We will see. So the topic I wanted to cover today is Nica Time. So a lot of people mention this, and people say it everywhere. Nicaraguans say it to me. When we're back in the States, people talk about it like it's a thing that's well known. And if you've never heard the expression, you've maybe heard something like it. When we lived in Panama, people would say everything happened on Panama Time. Here, say things happen on Nica Time or Nicaragua Time. Pretty much everywhere in this part of the world, there is a reference to how slowly things happen. And when people get frustrated, this is, oh. It's gonna be the bloopers reel, I think. No dollars.
You're not rich. I'm first. What's your mark? What number are you?
Please.
A red? A perf.
¿Qué onda, Pedro?
ML de 18. A Singapur.
Okay.